Richie, we had a lot to say about certain members of this team on that defensive line who, justifiably so, we thought did some things that we didn't love back in December at different times, with going to the portal, alluding to going to the portal, saying they were going to the portal, denying going to the portal, holding teams hostage, whatever, right? We had some big frustration over that. And for that group to be kind of who you were going to be leaning on to be your elite self this year, to come out and in the first couple of games, somebody commented on my Twitter post today and said that those guys were should have been on the side of a milk carton through the first couple of games. I was really worried about for a long time this defensive line or certain members on this defensive line just checking out and just not really caring as the year went along. And they have done anything but that. And the defensive line effort last week against Memphis was pretty elite. It wasn't, they didn't play perfectly by any means, but I thought it was a really, really good effort wise against Memphis. It was one of the few things that we kind of pulled as a positive, but I was worried that it was just Memphis. And so it's easy to get up when you're just going to get your stats or whatever. The way the defensive line, the way Josh Farmer and Pat Payton and others too, like Marvin Jones Jr. had a couple of nice plays in the second half. Lolo Hea played the run really well. Byron Turner got some good pressure. Lyons played well. Jackson made a couple of tackles. Hopefully he's okay. I didn't see what happened with that injury, but I thought the effort they played with was on a different level, and they were the difference in the game. That defensive line was the reason you won the game last night. And so as much as we speculated about their intentions or their effort or whatever, and really whatever that was that they were going through for the first couple of games, I don't even care. I'm just glad to see that they brought it because, again, they're the reason you have a win this year.
Yeah, and you go back to Dublin again. They weren't just losing at the point of attack. They were almost getting blown off the ball by Georgia Tech, who, not exactly Alabama or Georgia. And that was concerning to me. I said, this is going to be a very long season if this group, who we were going to rely upon so much heading into the season, looks like that against that team. Georgia Tech is not a good team. But last week against Memphis, we talked about it. They played extremely well, and they followed up again this week. And I think it's probably the highest paid position group on the team, if I had to guess collectively, at least for the starters, for sure. And, the question was, well, I got my money. What do I care? I think someone might have gotten their ear and said, listen, what you're making right now is pennies compared to what you'll make in the NFL. And you won't make a single dollar in the NFL if you keep putting this on tape every single week. Because these NFL scouts that come to practice, that watch these games, they're keeping an eye on every single play, on every individual. And if you keep performing like you did the first 2.5 games or so, that's a problem. And you're not going to get drafted. So, yeah, what you're making now is nice. You might be making 6 figures. Great. Do you want to make 5 figures after your second contract in the NFL? Because what you're putting on tape right now, you won't have the chance to do that. I don't know if that's what was said to them or if something just clicked. I thought Marvin Jones Jr. was, not great in the first half, but I thought he had an amazing fourth quarter. And, I think the team, they're starting to believe. It was almost like that Louisville game last year where the defense just looked at each other, specifically the defensive line, and said, you know what, our offense, for whatever reason, they're not going to win this game for us. We got to go out and do it ourselves. And they did it. And it was a dominant performance by that defensive line.
Yeah, it was impressive to see. I mean, Josh Farmer, I thought that was the best game he's played as Seminole. Maybe Pat Payton too. I think they both had career highs in different stats. And yeah, we've called out Marvin Jones Jr. I don't think he's been very good. He's not very good against the run. It's funny. I looked at their grades and I rewatched the game today. Lolo Hea is not very good against the pass, and Marvin Jones Jr. wasn't very good against the run in the game. And almost like if you could combine them, they kind of complement each other in strengths and weaknesses. But obviously, you don't know exactly when the other team's going to run or pass, so that's kind of what makes it tough. They get caught out there in situations that they don't defend very well against. But yeah, I mean, you at least appreciate the effort. MJJ kind of cleaned up a couple of pressures that Farmer probably created 5 sacks in the game. He had his tackles for losses, but Farmer was so incredibly good And shoot, that's good. I saw some tweets that were joking, like, hey, if you guys keep trashing these guys, they'll play better because bullying works. Like, whatever, man. Like, I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I think they played better, and that's what you want to see, because I don't care. And I said this last night. I don't care why they played better. I don't care if it's just for themselves. Like, listen, I'm not asking. I don't really buy the thing that, like, oh, they just love Florida State and they're just diehard. I think that most of that's gone, man. Like, most of that's gone with NIL and everything else. Like, go play for yourself, because you're getting paid a lot of money to go do it. And you realize that if you play really well while you're getting this little bit of money, you'll make even more in the future. Like, I'm completely okay with you going out and playing for selfish reasons, because you want to be the very best. Or, do you think Kobe was out there playing because he wanted to elevate his teammates? No, he wanted to be the best of all time. He wanted to be better than Michael. You think Michael was out there playing because he loved the Bulls? No, he just wanted to be great. Like, come on, like that's so I'm completely okay with that, right? Like, just go play and give effort. And again, I think I was worried that we wouldn't see that those guys would just kind of mail it in. They were the ones that you had questions about, what their true motivations were earlier in their careers, and things that they had done and threatened and everything else. And not to relive all that, but they were the ones you were the most concerned about. And so just for them to put forth more effort, you kind of think. Now, I certainly don't love Florida State's chances, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but against some of the teams on their schedule. But that defensive line is going to give you a chance in a lot of games, right? And is going to keep you in a lot of games. And you're exactly right. It is just like the second half of the Florida game. It is just like the Louisville game. The offense is not going to be great. I don't think the offense ever finds it. DJ talked about it a little bit last night. We know that we're eventually going to break through and we're going to be the offense that we want to be. I hope he's right, but I don't necessarily buy it. But I do know that as far as the team is going to go, is going to be how far this defensive line and the defense in general, which was really good, carries them. So I was really impressed with that. They need to continue to build. Like, they need to continue to get better. I think that they hopefully they found something, and then, like, that little bit of confidence can just continue to roll so that they can continue to move on with that. Again, somebody mentioned the linebackers. I thought the linebackers were really good. Really good is maybe a stretch. I thought the linebackers were really good compared to how they have been
did
playing
their job. Yeah.
so far this year. Yeah, like they weren't a liability, and that's really impressive. I mean, you've got to just be better than we have been. And defensively, in totality, they were a lot better, but especially that defensive line. Get right back to chatting with Richie, but first, let me give a little bit of love to our newest partner. Now, recently, I was sent some of the Lucy pouches, and I've tried other similar products in the past, but the flavor on these was actually surprisingly good. You get something for free, you don't always know what it's going to be like, but I'll tell you, these aren't for everybody. But if you are somebody who, like me, maybe dipped tobacco or maybe used a different kind of product when you were younger, or maybe you're even using it right now, these were pretty great, and you should certainly try them. Now, they're tobacco-free. They're not owned by Big Tobacco, and I really enjoyed the mint flavor, but you should try different flavors. See what you like. If you need to level up your nicotine game, go to lucy.co/DFNS. Use the code DFNS. You'll get 20% off your very first order. Lucy also offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy. If you change your mind, you're good to go. That's lucy.co, code DFNS for 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. We appreciate Lucy for their support. Again, maybe not for everybody, but if it's for you, go check them out.
Yeah, no, and you look at the final numbers; they speak for themselves. 7 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 2.9 yards per carry for Cal, and they had a really good running back there. And they have multiple good backs. They have a really good running back room, and Florida State's defensive line just shut it down. And if they can do that on a week in, week out basis, now we'll see. You're going to play some offensive lines that are really, really going to challenge you. One of them being located in Coral Gables, and that's going to be, we'll talk about that game briefly. But yeah, if they continue to show up the way they did the last 2 weeks, then you're going to at least have a chance in most games left on the schedule. Maybe not all of them, but definitely most of them, because games are one of the trenches. The offensive line still looks underwhelming to me, but they did well enough yesterday to win. But I think Florida State's offensive troubles go well beyond the offensive line, but the defensive line to me is not a concern moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you need to stay healthy and you need to keep that effort up. I think, and as long as you do that, then I think you'll be in pretty good shape along that defensive line. And so it's a testament to those kids because everyone was crapping on them. Everybody was saying like they didn't care about FSU, they just cared about like everybody, including me. Like I got no problems eating that crow and saying they absolutely deserve every bit of praise that you could think to give them because they listened to all that and everybody kind of doubted them, and they're the ones that have turned it back around and really played well. And so hopefully that continues. But again, it's all about effort. I really don't, ability is one thing. They've got the talent, that. But I mean, I think that's why people want to play the young guys. I mean, not that you really have a lot of young guys that you could really even play on the defensive line, and recruiting is a whole different story. But that's why I think people want to play the young guys because they think at least the young guys will have a lot of effort. I mean, you would hope, right? For my youngins, I think that the young kids usually have pretty good effort. Edwin Joseph and different guys that made play, Quindarius Jones that made plays last night. Like I know they're not along the defensive line, but that's what you want to see. And again, you can't put young guys in on the trenches on either side because I just don't think you have enough there to do it. But it makes sense, right? Like keep the effort up and you'll continue to play. So